Oh, this is brilliant. By the magic of the internet, I am talking today to Kate Toon, who is an award-winning entrepreneur, best-selling author, educator and podcaster who's helped thousands of entrepreneurs build their own version of success through digital marketing, copywriting, SEO and business know-how. She's the founder of the Digital Marketing Collective and the Recipe for SEO Success, and the author of 6 Figures in School Hours, which was named this year's Work and Life Book of the Year at the Business Book Awards, and the follow-up, 6 Figures While You Sleep. And she's in Australia. So thanks. Well, it's sort of late in my day and early in yours, isn't it, Kate?
It is. It's early in the morning. It's very hot and sweaty here. It was 40 degrees yesterday. So we're hoping for a thunderstorm today because we're all dying.
It was 4 degrees here this morning, just so you know.
Yay! Oh, I don't miss English weather.
It was lovely and crisp.
Oh, yes, that's what we say. Blue sky. Crisp.
It was really
Autumnal.
miserable and wet. But anyway, It's very, very good to talk to you. And firstly, congratulations on the win.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's awards are a funny old thing, aren't they? You know, the people who win them tend to enter them. But no, it's a nice bit of affirmation. It was good.
And of course, you weren't in the room. So did somebody call you at
No.
like 3 a.m. your time, or how did that go?
No, I found out via social media, and it's, of all the bloody events. Sorry, I hope I'm okay to say that. All the events I go to and don't win. The one time I don't go, I win. So never had my moment of glory.
Maybe that's your secret of success from now on.
Yeah.
Just don't rock up and
Just don't turn up.
let's see
Yeah.
sit at home with the champagne on ice.
Yeah, that's my approach in life.
So what I really want to talk about is, there's no segue there. Sorry, I'm just going straight into it. this whole idea of passive income, because it's such a weird phrase, and you're very clear in the book that this is a problematic phrase. Like, what was it? No income's passive. So all incomes are active, but some are more active than others, I think was the lovely kind of misquote that you did. So what is it, and what's your take on it in 2024? Because it feels like things have changed.
Yeah, in 2025, just around the corner. And look, I was quite sneaky because I kind of wanted to use the word passive income on the cover because I know that it's a sexy topic and people are excited about the idea of making money by doing nothing. But I didn't want it to come from my mouth. So I got the quote on the front cover is from an author over here, Andrew Griffiths, and he talks to the passive income part. So I guess that passive income traditionally is things like investing in stocks and shares, buying an investment property, leasing an asset, letting someone move into a room in your house. Can't imagine anything worse. But all those passive income tactics require you to have upfront funds. You need money to invest in shares. You need a lot of money to buy an investment property. And when I was starting out in this little adventure, I had no money, and it was quite the opposite. I had a lot of debt with the tax office. So I needed something that I could make money from passively that required no investment. And all I had, therefore, was my brain, my existing skills and services. So really what I taught to in the book is taking your existing skills and services, whatever they may be, whether they are business focused or even if they're just personal, like you're a really great crochet artist or you're a mosaicer, and thinking rather than doing this and exchanging time for money, how can I do this one to many and maybe teach other people to do what I do, and then have that scalable passive income source.
And you give a sort of taxonomy of the ADPIPs, as you call them. Now I can't remember the acronym now. What is it? Automated Digital Passive Income Products?
Automated Digital Passive Income Products. Yeah. Well done. I did have a different one, which was Systemized Something, and it came out as like Sisyphus, which sounded like a vaginal cream. So I didn't go with that one.
It's a character from Greek myth, but I know what you mean.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it was like Sisyphusify. So AdPip sounded a bit better. But yes, there's 4 core AdPips, automated digital passive income products, and they are digital downloads, so templates, checklists, ebooks, that kind of thing. Courses, we're all aware of courses. They come in all shapes and sizes, online courses. Memberships, so they're a very common model now where you pay a monthly fee to be part of an online membership. Some may have some in-person events, and masterminds, which are some kind of VIP version of the membership with a very small group of people where people get a bit more exposure to you, the teacher, you, the expert. So those are my 4 AdPips.
And there's something really, we'll talk about sort of how things have changed, because it's a fast moving space, isn't it? And I really want to come back to that. But just in principle, there's something very empowering about this. I mean, you say when you started out on this journey, it was very much, I have nothing except my wits, but actually I can create value. Um, and there's something about, I think for women particularly, having kids or having caring demands or having not the ability to just, sit down and work for 8 hours and then stop again. There's something really empowering about the flexibility of this stuff, isn't there?
Yes, and I mean that was everything to me. So I started my business when I was pregnant. I've always had my child and my business at the same time. So my business is an unruly 15-year-old, and so is my son. Although he's a bit more
And
sensible.
your business eats less.
So yes, my son eats so much yogurt at the moment, honestly. So my income is really just about providing my son with yogurt. That's really the focus of it.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean
Keep him in the
that
yogurt. That's actually hilarious. Sorry.
I know. So, the thing with this model is, yes, there are little intense bursts of work because that's how all I can work. Maybe I'll get 2 hours. I'm never going to get an 8 hour stretch. I used to say, wouldn't it be great if I could work like a normal person and do 40 hours a week? And the realization comes that you do have 40 hours. It's just not in the same week.
Mm.
It's going to be spread over 3 weeks, right? So it's just going to take you a little bit longer, but you do have the time. So, this model enables me to do little spurts, create something, a template, a mini course, put it out to market, and then it's earning money while I'm doing other things. I mean, obviously, it's not that straightforward. There's marketing. We talked all of that in the book, but the simple, you get to the point where you realize obviously time is finite. You can only charge so much an hour until you kind of go out of the bracket of other people in your industry, so you can keep putting your hourly rate up, but at some point someone's going to say you're twice the price of everyone else, right? So you get to the point where there's only so much you can earn, and if that's not enough to support your lifestyle or your goals, then you need to find that extra source of money. And so that was the main reason for me.
But you're very much, you said then you can't, that's not it. You can't just sort of like drop it onto an unsuspecting world and sort of run away and hope he's going to do the work. So tell us about the marketing funnel, tell us about the work that you have to do just to keep this thing going, and also how that's changed over the sort of 10 years or so since you've been starting to do it.
Yeah, and I think the marketing is actually more important than the
Yeah.
product, which I think we know in a lot of,
Same with books.
the best
Yeah.
product. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true, and as I was saying, I own a bookshop, and I see how some books are really forced on the bookshop owners, and others aren't, and they're not necessarily the best
Mm.
books by any means, Anyway, but yeah, so the marketing actually starts first. So before you even build a single thing, make a single template, you really need to get your marketing ducks in a row, and you need to decide who you want to be in your space. What are your values? What personality do you want to have? If you don't have a personality, you have to make one up. And what do you want to stand for? So, for example, one of my big ad pips was in the Google space, SEO, optimizing websites to rank. Right, a very male-dominated space, very humorless space, very geeky. It's really hard. You need to be a genius to do this space. So I wanted to be contrary, and I went the other way. SEO is fun. SEO is easy. Anyone can do SEO. There's no magic secret. And that building those pillars of my brand up first started to build the trust. Then you make something very small and free, and you try and give it away, because if you can't give it away for free, no one's going to be paying the
Mm.
big bucks for it. So it's all about the funnel, and I talk about this in extensive detail in the book. Top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, building awareness, then getting some interest, getting someone to sign up for your free thing, nurturing them through email, maybe selling them something little and small so they've got used to getting their credit card out, and slowly building them towards buying the bigger thing, whether the bigger thing is a big cost thing or a big time commitment thing. Because people are more funny about committing time than they are
Mm.
about committing
Well, it's
money,
more
I've
precious,
found over the
it's more
years.
scarce.
It is more precious and more
Mm.
finite, and people hate commitment. And there's an idea, if you spend a big blob of cash on something, it's going to solve your problems. Whereas we all know that doesn't necessarily happen. It's the time and effort and energy that you put
Yeah,
in that
damn it.
does. So really, the funnel starts first. Funnel sounds like a dirty word, but it's building the brand and awareness of you and trust and the relationship. So when you do come along with your thing, people are ready to buy. The problem I see happening most is people build the thing, put it out there and go, and then no one's
Yeah.
interested, because it's like, well, I only heard about it today. And the classic example I use, I will stop talking in a minute, is I do play the long game, so part of being successful in business is just being around long enough for people to know who you are. And I have a lovely member called Sue, who I do talk about in the book. Poor Sue, I drag her out as an example all the time. And she was in my funnel for 7 years. 7 years since she kind of interacted the first time and got something free, until she then joined my membership and made that commitment. Now she's been in the membership for 3-4 years. She's a huge advocate for me and my brand. She's a great member for 7 years. So it's about playing the long game and putting the effort in the
And you
marketing.
talk a lot about community, which is something very close to my heart as well.
Mm.
But it does really
Mm.
underline the point that this is not. I mean, you say it's income while you sleep. It kind of is, but it's also kind of not, is it? It's a job. It's work.
It is a job. Yeah. It is work. I mean, it's less work and it's
Yes, that's
scalable.
the
I guess that's the
scalability of it,
thing,
yeah. And there's a network effect there
Yeah,
as the
you
community gets bigger. What I've noticed is, people start to look after each other, which is amazing, and you get sort of champions within it.
yes. They do. And I mean, I talk about in the book the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, and how when you first sell something like this, it will sell well because you're selling it to your best people, your friends, people you've worked with before. And then it's the sale 3 and 4 that kind of sink away because you've used up all your immediate community. And that's about now building a wider community. But yes, I mean, my actual next book is focused on communities and as a sales tactic, because I don't like
Mm.
Facebook ads, just because I don't like giving money to Meta, and I've never been able to make them work, even with all the expert help. And I don't really like Google ads because it's so competitive and so expensive.
Especially for
So
terms
I'm
like
not a
SEO,
traditional
surely.
advertiser. Yeah, and for
Yeah.
everything, it's $30 a click, and that's not even a sale. So I've always really built my brand through making little communities of people, bringing people together, giving them a safe space, as you said, creating advocates in that group who then not police but channel the
Mm.
vibe of the group, so it becomes a self-sustaining entity. You're still there as the leader and with the direction and the vibe, but you're not there holding it with a tight iron fist. And that has hugely been my thing, because again, I focus now more on the bottom of the funnel, on reselling to people I've already sold to, or making things that respond to their needs. So last year, for example, my community were worried about AI, right, and how it was going to impact everything. So for my community, I did a free day on AI, and it didn't charge them a whole group of speakers. I charged people who weren't in the community, but for them it was free, because the retention of
Mm.
those people is more important to me than getting a little bit of dollar out of them. So playing the
Yeah.
long game and building long-term
Which is, as it
relationships.
turns out, also much more fun and much more rewarding for you. Yeah, so it's just a more human way to do it, isn't it? And in terms
Yeah,
of
yeah,
writing, you come from a copywriting background, which is really obvious in the book. It's
yeah.
just it's so full of personality. And I know Leslie at Major Street Publishers, and I was laughing because you were like, "This book's going to be full of stuff that Leslie was going to try and make me take out," which really made me
Yes.
laugh. But how is that a curse or a blessing coming from the copywriting background when you're trying to write something at book scale?
Oh, it's such a blessing. Also, the project management
Yeah,
background, because the hardest thing about writing a book is writing it. I know that sounds ridiculous. It's not the idea. Often, well, it's hard to sometimes come up with an idea, and come up with an idea that's original, and you literally can't come up with an idea that's original. And even part of pitching to a publisher is telling them that your book has already been written. You have to give comparison
just not like
titles. You
this.
have to prove that it's been written, but a little bit different, right? So, but I was disciplined, so I set myself an hour aside each morning, and I didn't set a writing necessarily a word goal, but I had to write for the hour every morning. And generally I'd get 1,000-2,000 words, because I'm a fast typer and I'm used to writing on deadline. We were talking about it, Parkinson's law.
Mm.
If you give me an hour to do the job, I'll do it in an hour. If you give me 3, I'll do it in 3. So, but I also, with my writing, I am very unattached to it, which you have to be with copywriting. It's a product of me, it's not me. So, for example, I would write the first draft, send it off to my mum and dad, bless them, and they would clean it up. Then I would send it off to another reader who would give feedback, then another reader. So it was like a waterfall effect. I was working on chapter 2 while chapter 1 was being read by my mum and dad. Then I was on chapter 3 while chapter 1 was being read by Sue, and chapter 2 was being read by mum and dad. And it kind of flowed down, which meant by the time I got to the final chapter, most of the book had been read by 5 people already. And then I just had to go through and tidy it up. It's Barbara Cartland used to do this. I saw a documentary with her. She used to write on a typewriter, bless her. And each draft was in different coloured paper, the final draft being
Of
pink, I
course.
believe. But she would do, I think, 7 drafts, 7 rounds, and get it read and just keep going through it and going through it and going through it. But yes, I think the speed of being able to write fast, the ability to detach yourself from the writing, the ability to not go back and read what you read the day before is really important. Sometimes I write in white font on a white page, so I can't even read what I've written, because there's a tendency for your eye to trip back over the last sentence and go, is that the right adjective? Is it? It's not the point. Just get it down. You can fiddle with the adjectives later, get
This
it
only works if you
down.
touch type, I'm guessing.
Yes,
Yeah. Have you
it
ever found
does.
yourself just, I don't know, a key out when you're touch typing and just written a page of garbage? Okay.
Oh, yes. I mean, I'd say half the book's garbage. No, I'm joking. No, I think because I ruminate a lot, I'm only writing an hour a day. So the rest of the day, I'm thinking about what I'm going to write, and I don't know. And then, people read it and go, this whole paragraph makes no sense whatsoever. What are you talking about? And I'll just be like, ugh, rather than try and rewrite it, I'll probably just delete it. So I'm a brutal editor of my own work as well. But no, I have I think I read that a lot of people don't have an internal narrative. I have a very strong internal narrative. So it's almost like my brain is reading out what I'm typing to me a couple of words ahead. Um, and, and then I'll sort of, when I'm talking and presenting, I often do little asides. And I found the key to writing a good book is to include
Yeah.
those asides. Even if you've written a paragraph of rubbish, you're after that, you're right. Well, that was a bit confusing. Shall I try and explain it better? You have a little conversation with the reader and leave those funny bits in. And as I said, yeah, Will is the editor, and he would come back and go, "Did you mean to say this?"
Yeah, I
And I'm like,
totally
"Yes,
did.
I
Yeah.
did. It's not a typo. I totally meant that."
I love that.
But by the end, he was like, "No, that was funny." And he said, "I laughed out loud in some places, and I rarely do that with a business book." So that was a huge
Yes, you are
compliment
quite
from Will.
scathing about business books at the start.
I am. I don't like them. I don't read them. A lot of them are quite dry and very, look at me, I'm great, very bombastic, or they're just packed full of case. Like there's a couple of books over here, which were my comps, and really there's about 20,000 words of the author's narrative, and the rest is just case studies, interviews with other successful people. And I find that really lazy writing. I don't want to read a
Mm.
transcript of an interview. Do the interview, fantastic. Then, reduce it to its essentials and present that to me with your voice and your experience. Can't bear a book that's just packed with, here's Marjorie, who had a $20 million business. Oh, bugger off, Marjorie. Do you know what I mean? I want to hear how I can
But
achieve
you do
this,
use
not
you.
how
I loved
you
your guinea
achieved it.
pigs. You've got an actual icon of a guinea pig, and then you
Mm,
just sort of highlight a few people because it brings it alive, doesn't it? You can tell me an abstract idea, but I want to
it does.
hear how it went for this person.
I really just wanted to get the
Yeah.
icon of the guinea pig in there, and believe me, that was a battle as well. But but no, I thought that was really helpful. So I've got a lawyer, an e-commerce store owner who deals with eczema, and a WordPress developer who's actually my partner as
I
well.
didn't
So that
realize
was
that.
interesting.
Interesting.
Yes, yes. And, watching, so explaining how to do something and then going, so this is how Tony would do this. And
It brings it
I
to
do
life.
think
Yeah,
that brings it
absolutely.
home. But the nice thing about them is they haven't done it yet. They're not like coming back going, they're like, oh, well, actually, that's quite a struggle. And I don't know what I'm going to do about this. So they are the everyman in the book. They are
Relatable,
us. They are you. They're relatable.
as we say in the business book
Exactly.
world. Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
So
exactly.
it's interesting. We're talking about digital product, and we're talking about marketing and funnels, and we're talking particularly about digital marketing. We're talking about communities. How does the book work within that ecosystem as part of a funnel, or does it not? Is it something separate?
No, I think it can. I think often business books are simply paid lead magnets. I've been to events where people are handing out their books like candy, and it's like, obviously that's a fantastic lead magnet because you're going to spend 8 hours reading that book. And by the end of that, you're either going to love or hate the writer, and you're going to be really connected to them. And often we read in places where we feel happy and comfortable. It's like podcasts. I think
So
podcasts are
intimate.
hugely powerful because, I'm listening to you while I'm walking my dog and drinking coffee. I love you. I take a bullet for Ira Levin, who does This American Life. Not Ira Levin, Ira, I can't remember his second name. But anyway, I take a bullet for him. I can't remember his second name. So it's a very intimate relationship, but often I find those kind of lead magnety books are very, people say, oh, I wrote it in 48 hours. And I'm like, that's not something you
No.
should boast about. They're not well written. They're not an enjoyable read. There'd be easier ways to learn what you're teaching me. I'd rather read a blog post. Thanks very much. So the first book, Six Figures in School Hours, I really wanted to write something that I thought would sell. And amusingly, it got rejected by many publishers who said there wasn't the Venn diagram I have drawn of parents and business didn't exist. And I'm like, are you kidding? So it was great to prove them wrong because it sold rather well over here. But it didn't really fit in my ecosystem. I don't have a product off the back of that. I don't have a community for mums in business. None of my communities are gender based, and I don't want to exclude people who aren't mums, so that was a kind of a standalone. It was a great experience. I wanted to get a book in the airport. I'm going to be honest. I was shallow. That's what I wanted. The next book is very much a reflection of what I do and what I teach. So there is a natural on-sell of my mastermind. So I have a mastermind that goes with the book, which I sold as I published the book, which completely recouped all my costs, but also it ties into my membership as well. So if you finish reading that book, there are next steps. Whereas with the other one, there kind of is. I mean, you can join my communities and join me, but you're not necessarily going to buy anything from me. So this one was a lot more businessy, focusedy, funnily than the
Part of the
first
system.
one.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Part of the ecosystem. Yeah.
So, Kate, I feel a bit greedy now because you've actually given us so many, but I always ask my guests for their best tip for somebody who's just sort of setting out on this journey of writing a business book. So I guess, what do you wish you'd known when you started out on the journey, if you can remember?
Yes, I can. Gosh, I think,
Never
yes. I
forget.
mean, the thing is you have to write the thing, and that is hard. And often I think what people do is they tell people they're going to write a book because they want the accountability, but they also want the dopamine. They want the bottom pat. And like, oh, you're so amazing, you're writing a book. We haven't written it yet, so you don't deserve the bottom pat. And I need to save that dopamine up till the end, because otherwise it's like carrot and stick, but you've eaten the carrot right at the beginning and all you're left with is a stick to beat yourself with for the next few months. So I don't like talking to people about my idea until I've written the book, and I know you're different on this.
Yeah, I I couldn't disagree more. And I think it's brilliant that, but listen, you forget, don't you, that what you have is an opinion.
Yeah.
I just know that if it weren't for actually telling people about the book and getting that sort of sense of accountability, now I have to write the damn thing, but also the conversations that you have as you talk about the book and people saying, oh, you should talk to so-and-so, and those sort of serendipitous connections, I just think they're gold.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
and I also think that you must be some incredibly morally strong, upholding type,
Least
just to be able to
morally
just say that you're
strong
going to do it to yourself.
person. Look, I'm not saying I didn't hint at that it was coming, but I did force myself to get a little bit under my belt. And also, it's very important who you tell, because I have a small group
Yes,
of
now that I
select
agree
people
with.
who were reading the drafts as I was going through, and then they would give me opinions. And why don't you speak to Bob? Why don't you speak to Sue? But it was based on a framework that I'd already put together. So for me, that's the better time to get the feedback, when I've done a bit of the hard work, because I am essentially a very lazy, greedy, egotistical person. And if people are telling me I'm wonderful and I don't even have to do anything, I'm going to take it. So, yes, I think it's very hard for me. Now, I did write my books very quickly. So I wrote each book in 7 weeks with that method that I talked about. But, I'd been thinking about them for years and years and years. So they kind of poured out of me. So it didn't take me long to get my dopamine. But yeah, that for me is an important part of it. Getting the draft down before you start shoving off about it.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's really, really helpful to get those sort of different perspectives on it. Brilliant. I also going to ask you to recommend us a book, not your own, that's not allowed, but and it doesn't have to even be a business book. I'm very broad-minded, but recommend us a book that you think people listening should read.
Look, I'm not a big reader of business books. I do love the self-help.
We established
Yes, I
that, didn't we?
know.
Yes.
There's a book I love called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff by Richard something or other, which is very poured and very gifted. But obviously now that I've bought a bookshop, I have a TBR pile of about 60,000 books to get through. So right now, a book that I'm loving is James by Percival Everett. It was a Booker Prize nominee. I've read two of the other. I read the winner, and I read another one, and I don't know what they were on that day when they did the voting. The Orbital is very good, but it's very difficult. But it's a beautiful book. It's a retelling of the Huckleberry Finn story from Jim's perspective, and it's really quite beautiful. I think it's a modern classic. So yeah.
See, I read American Fiction not that long ago and thought, no, it's not American Fiction, is it? That's
American
the
Dirt.
film. No, it's Percival Everett.
Yes, his other one. Yes, I can't remember the title either, but yes, he's a good writer, eh?
Yes, so good, but I mean dense and complex and fireworky.
Oh, it's a proper grown-up book.
It was amazing.
I like to read a proper grown-up book and then read something a little bit trashy in between, to kind of cleanse the palate.
Yeah. Nothing like a good YA book, is there?
Love a YA, love a Frida
rip through it in an evening.
McFadden, a nice little easy crime. You know exactly what's going to happen and who did what, but it doesn't matter because it's just enjoyable and comforting.
Kate, I want to run a bookshop
now. I know,
now.
it's great.
You've started off
amazing. I mean, talk about community. We're talking here about digital products and passive income. I've spent 15 years working with things that don't really exist and dealing with people primarily online and not having any human contact. So part of buying the bookshop was really creating that community IRL, in real life, and having genuine connections. Last night we did late night shopping for the first time, which is very revolutionary where I live. And we had a little, because it's on a Wednesday and people are appalled that I wouldn't do it on a Thursday. And we had a little band outside playing, people stopping with their fish and chips, coming in the shop. And I had a little moment. It was beautiful.
That's it. Where can I'm going to go and immediately buy a bookshop. I love that. Thank you. Kate, if people want to find out more about you, more about the books, more about the stuff you do, more about the book that you're not talking about that you must be writing, but you're not telling us about it yet, where should they go?
You can, if you Google Kate Toon, you'll either find a competent dentist in Ipswich or you'll find me. So, and then I've got about 72 different websites and podcasts and whatever, but you can start your journey at katetoon.com.
Amazing. And if you do need a dentist, that's also a good tip. Brilliant. Such fun to talk to you. Thank you very much for waking up early. It was worth me staying up late at night. It's all great.
It's been lovely. Lovely. Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.